Hi everyone. So I am here today to talk about my specific treatment plan and just a little bit about my experience with chemotherapy. And so as you already know or should know, and if you don't know, I'll tell you, I was diagnosed with stage 2B triple negative breast cancer in March of this year. And so I am about 12 weeks in my treatment, which is about the halfway point for my treatment plan. My treatment plan consists of a Part A, which is one cocktail of chemotherapy drugs, and then Part B, which is another cocktail of chemotherapy drugs. So for Part A, I'm just going to talk about Part A for this particular video. Because that's what I'm currently on and what I'm finishing up soon. When I start Part B, I'll do another video about that so that we can keep the two separate and know how the medications kind of affected me each separately. So for Part A, I receive a medicine called Carbo, or that's what they call it for short, Taxol, which is another chemotherapy medicine, and then Keytruda, which is not a chemotherapy medication, it's what they call a biologic. And so they give those three to me every 3 weeks, and that was for a total of 4 cycles. And one of the medications I receive every week, and that's the Taxol. And so again, this is about halfway through 12 weeks of receiving, some type of combination of either all the medication or just one medication. I also get pre-medications before each treatment, and that's important to know because that's what kind of gets your body prepared for the chemotherapy and tries to get in front of any side effects you might experience. And so that is a steroid, which is dexamethasone, a anti-nausea or 2 anti-nausea medications, a mid and a loxy. And then there is Benadryl, that's to help, of course, Benadryl, we know that that's an antihistamine, so that's to help with any type of allergic reaction, and Pepsid, which is for your stomach. And so those are the pre-medications that I get before each treatment, or not before each treatment. It's kind of confusing, but I get those as pre-medications. I only get the combination of all of those on day 1 of each cycle. So basically when I'm getting the Keytruda, the Carbo, and the Taxol all together, that's when I get all of those pre-medications. On the days that I just get Taxol, I get Benadryl and the steroid and the Pepsid on those days. So again, it's kind of confusing, a lot of medications, but that's kind of what my plan is. So in terms of how I receive my medication or my chemotherapy, I get it through a permanent port. This is the SCAR. This port was placed on March 24th, which was fairly quick from my understanding in terms of when I had the appointment with the multidisciplinary team and then when I actually had everything started. So I met with the team on March 21st. Which was a Monday. By that Thursday, which was March 24th, I was in the hospital getting my port placed. And by the next week, I was meeting with the nurse practitioner that Monday to talk about my treatment plan. And by that Tuesday, the next day, March 29th, the treatment plan started. How long does it take to receive everything? So when I go, the day that I go for my treatments, my pre-meds take about 45 minutes, like all the meds that I listed. Some of them have to infuse over the pump, and then some of them are medications that they can push through the tubing once they connect it to my port. Once they set up the port. So like I said, I have a permanent port in place. And so you basically have a kit where there's a needle that inserts in that port, and that's where your tubing and everything kind of runs through, and then they connect it through to the tubing with the machine and everything. So yeah, so again, pre-medications take about 45 minutes. The other medications, they each take about an hour, except for the Keytruda. The Keytruda is about 30 minutes. But the Carbo and the Taxol, they both have to infuse over an hour each, and they're not given at the same time. It's one after the other. Same thing with the, with the pre-medications. It's like they hang one thing, let that run, and then they'll come hang something else. And so on cycle, on day one of each cycle, that's usually my longer day when I'm at the infusion center. And so I kind of plan to be there a good maybe 4-5 hours typically on the days that I just get the Taxol, because again, I get Taxol every week. And so on the days that I just get the Taxol, I am there, let's say maybe 3 hours from the time that I go in for labs, to meet with the nurse practitioner, and then to get the Taxol. Again, the Taxol takes about an hour to infuse. Pre-meds take about 45 minutes. So it is a job, and I remember my oncologist saying that in the beginning. He was like, it's a job, and it is a job. So your treatment days, you're just not kind of running in and out. You got to kind of have to plan to be there for a while. And again, on cycle, of day one of each cycle, I plan to be there longer than when I just go for the Taxol. Taxol is what I consider my short day. And I don't even know, I think I said about 4 to 5 hours, but maybe it feels a little longer. But nevertheless, you're going in with a mission. You're going to get your medication so that you can get better and get up out of there. And so that's kind of how I look at it. And so it doesn't tend to bother me as much. When I first started, I would sleep most of that time because the Benadryl knocks you out. Benadryl is, I don't know, like it takes your breath away. Well, at least the dose that they were giving me initially. Once they cut the dose in half, I'm able to stay up. I still get a little sleepy, but not like how it was before. I would be completely knocked out. And that sounds amazing. Didn't have an issue with being knocked out. My issue with the Benadryl initially was the fact that it took my breath away. Like when you have a port in place, you could literally like taste the medicine as they're giving it to you. That's like the worst part of receiving it. You literally taste it as it's being pushed through the tubing. And so I would taste it, and then, it made me feel like I couldn't breathe. I'm like, I can't breathe. And so nurse practitioner, everybody was like, let's just cut the dose in half. There's no need to have to deal with that if we don't have to. And so after cutting it in half, I no longer feel tired the whole time. So I'm up. I use that time to just kind of, follow up on some work if I need to, or do whatever I have to do. My husband is there. He's there with me for every treatment for the most part. I think he's only missed one, and that's because he had to fly out to be with my bonus daughter, his daughter, in another state. Other than that, he is there with me the whole time. And so I'm so grateful, because apparently before I was diagnosed, that was not the case. People who were going through this during COVID times, which we're still in COVID times, but definitely in the heat of COVID times, you couldn't have anybody there with you. And so apparently that changed right before I got my diagnosis. And so you can have one support person come back there with you, and that's been amazing. Again, he's been with me the whole time. Outside of that, I don't think I've had any other issues with any of the other pre-medications, but yeah, that Benadryl is something else. So keep that in mind. Those of you who are recently diagnosed, or who are going through, and if they feel like they're feeling anxious, because apparently like being anxious or even restless legs with Benadryl is like a common complaint, but your doctor can adjust that. You don't have to just get what they give you. So keep that in mind. I know that's not what I came here to talk about, but that's just a little insert real quick. So how has chemotherapy affected me, or how has it been affecting me? I'd say it's been pretty mild. Of course, this is not something that I have been through before, so I have nothing to compare it to. But if I compare it to, other people that have gone through any type of cancer treatment, or, if we even think about what we see on TV and how the image is, I'd say in my case, I have experienced something totally opposite of what I even believed it was going to be. because it's very scary when you get a diagnosis like cancer. It's very scary to even think about putting, the poison, the chemotherapy in your body, because we know it affects your healthy cells, and so then it's going to make you sick and do all these things to your body that wouldn't naturally happen if you didn't receive it. And so that's a reason why a lot of people choose not to receive it, because they're so afraid of how it's going to affect them. And so again, in my case, it's been pretty mild. And when I say mild, I'm meaning I am not stuck in the bathroom all day. I am not stuck leaning over the toilet throwing up all day. I am not in pain all day. I'm not asleep all day. When I tell you I am still going on with my day how I normally would, like, that is what I mean. I have 4 children, 3 boys, 1 baby. And so we are involved in a lot of things. A lot of things keep me active and busy, and a lot of things that I want to be a part of. And so I am still doing that for the most part every day. I will say there are days when I feel more tired than I think I would normally feel if I hadn't been receiving the treatment. However, again, 4 kids, I'm tired anyway. And so I can't even blame that completely on the medication. I can't blame that completely on the treatment. And so I am going to do a video very soon, like specifically breaking down each side effect that I have, personally experienced. But like I said, how has chemo affected me overall? It's just been pretty mild, and I'm so grateful. I understand that this is not the case for everybody, and so that's why I said how it's affecting me personally, my treatment plan, because everyone's experience is different. And so I don't say that to try to downplay someone else's experience with it, because my God, we know that, some people don't have the luxury to be able to go through the treatment and not be able to say that it's been mild. It's pretty rough on them. And so I do not take that for granted. I am totally blessed. Whether it's, the pre-medicines that I'm getting, and we can't even say that that's completely all of it that's keeping me that way, because again, as the days go on and that pre-med is wearing off, I'm still feeling fine. And so it's God. That's all I can say. Glory to God. And I am just extremely grateful, because when I first got my diagnosis, that was my biggest fear. How was I supposed to go through something as serious as this when I have all these responsibilities? And we don't have, a huge family that lives here that can support us. I have a cousin that is amazing with helping me out with whatever I need. She'll drop anything at any point in time to come help me. But she's only one person, and she has her own family. And so we don't want to put too much on her either, or at least I don't want to put too much on her. And so that was a huge fear for me at the beginning of this, and I am moving through, and God has had me covered the whole time, so I'm grateful. Again, very, very grateful. Thank you for taking the time out to watch this video. Stay tuned for the next update, the next video. God bless you. Subscribe to the channel, guys, and we'll keep things rolling. Thank you.